I am delighted to see you on board today. Welcome as we start our first lesson under the topic of decision making and problem solving. In today's lesson, we are going to look at elements of managerial decision making. Decision making is an essential part in our daily lives, and we make decisions right from the time we wake up to the time that we go to sleep. And therefore, understanding decision making will help you to make the right decisions. And when you make the right decisions, then you will excel in your social life, in your career path, and overall. In today's lesson, we have divided it into 3 segments. Our first segment is going to be defining what decision making is. And then in the second segment, we are going to look at the 4 common approaches used in decision making. And then lastly, we are going to have an exciting case study that is going to help us to know how to make the right decision. I like you to feel relaxed and enjoy this lesson today. Allow me to start by introducing our first segment of the topic, which is what is decision making. What comes into your mind when you hear the term decision making? Or has anyone ever asked you to make a decision, then you ask, what is this decision making? Decision making is a process that helps you to make a choice between alternative courses of action aimed toward a specific purpose. This means that for you to make a decision, there must be a display of the various actions that you need to take. And out of them, you have to take the best that suits the purpose that you want to accomplish. Therefore, it is important for you to understand what decision making is. And that is what I've said, that decision making, it is a process that helps you to make a choice between the alternative courses of action aimed toward a specific purpose. Allow me walk you to the next segment of our lesson, which is the 4 common approaches used in decision making. It is important for you to understand this approach and then acquaint yourself with them so that you can always make the right decision. And I will start by mentioning these approaches that are commonly used in decision making. These 4 common used approaches in decision making are: the first one is logical approach. The second one is that of intuitive. Then the third one is indecisive. And lastly is impulsive. Now, let me take you through each approach so that we can analyze it and understand it and see out of these 4 approaches which one is the best in decision making. Our first approach is that of logic decision making. The logical decision making is used to make decisions using the evidence and laid down procedures that are within the company. And in most cases, you'll find that the documents that we use while making this decision could be the SOPs, the standard operating procedures of the company. It could be the LQA, the leading quality assurance. It could be the outlined steps that the company uses when making a certain decision or when tackling a certain subject. So as a decision maker, when you are found within an area that you need to make a decision, you will always go to refer to these documents and references so that you are able to make the right decision. And in most cases, this is the approach that helps us to make the right decision. Let's walk to the second approach, which is intuitive. In intuitive approach, this is where we are using our instincts. You listen to your inner sound and inner soul before making a decision. And most of the times, we will rely on our feelings. And if I ask, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you are looking at making a decision and then you are confused? There is nowhere to look at, maybe for reference, or there's no one to ask, and therefore you have to listen to yourself in order to make the right decision. If you've ever found yourself in such a situation and you made the right decision, then you are using the intuitive approach. And in this approach, you are listening to yourself, you think over the situation, and then make conclusion based on what your instincts tells you is right. And just like logical approach, intuitive approach also helps you to make the right decision. The third approach to decision making is that of indecisive. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that time when you were supposed to make a decision and then you feared making a decision because you felt that if you make the decision, you may end up making a wrong decision. Have you ever found yourself in such a circumstance? If you found yourself in such a circumstance, then you are using an approach called indecisive. And in indecisive decision making, this is where one fears to make a decision because they feel that the decision that they're going to make is going to be wrong. And in most cases, people who use indecisive decision making, they will tend to delegate this decision making to someone else, or they delay making the decision. But in the long run, they end up making a wrong decision. Therefore, I would encourage that you don't use the indecisive decision making. Our last approach to decision making is that of impulsive approach to decision making. Look at this. Have you ever found yourself acting in a quick manner because of some of the things that have triggered you, and then you end up later regretting upon the decision that you've made? If you've ever found yourself in such situation, then you are using the impulsive approach. The impulsive approach to decision making is similar to that of intuitive approach. However, when it comes to impulsive, one acts quickly without thinking over the circumstance or the decision that you are supposed to make. And therefore, you end up making a decision based on quick feelings, which are always short-lived, and then you end up regretting. And some of these feelings could be excitement, there could be anger, or something that triggers you, and then you make a decision and later you come to regret about it. Impulsive decision making will always lead you to making a wrong decision. We have looked at these 4 approaches to decision making, and we said the first approach to decision making is that of logical. And we said logical gives us best results in decision making. And then we saw the second approach, which is that of intuitive. Intuitive is where we are using our intuitions, and in most cases it also results to positive results. We saw the third one, which was indecisive, where one feels undecided in making the decision, and in most cases they end up making the wrong decision. And then lastly, we have looked at the impulsive approach. In the impulsive approach, this is where someone acts quickly without thinking over the decision that they have to make. And again, just like indecisive, impulsive also leads to wrong decision making. Having the ability to make the right decision is very important, and it is always recommended that you should be able to make the right decision on the spot, because this builds trust among your colleagues and also the people that you are leading. And that is why, as a manager, you need to look at the best approach to use in decision making so that you make on the spot decision. Indecisive and impulsive approach are not recommended, because these two are going to give you a wrong result. However, I would like to encourage you to use the logical and the intuitive approach to decision making, because these two will give you the right results, and therefore you'll end up making a sound and logical decision in whichever circumstance that you find yourself into. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me walk you to the last segment of our lesson, which is a case study. And this is the case study that we are going to look. Imagine you have been scheduled for a yearly performance review with your general manager. And this review is supposed to take place in his office at 10 a.m. in the morning. Now you decide to leave your desk at 9:50 in order to make it on time. Then as you are passing by the reception, you meet a guest who approaches you for assistance. What will you do? In this case, for you to be able to make the right decision, you have to pay attention to the following three things. The first thing is you need to identify your choice of action. And then secondly, you have to identify your specific purpose. What are you aiming to achieve by the end of the day when you make this decision? And then the last thing that you also need to pay attention to is that you need to identify the course of action, the step that you are going to take when making this decision. Now, let's look at these three things using our case study. In identifying your course of action, you only have two courses of action here, which is number one, you either decide to assist the guest, or option two, you decide to ask the guest to sit down and wait for someone to come and assist them. In identifying your specific purpose, what is our specific purpose in our companies or in our places of work? It is to make our guests happy. And therefore, you have to look at it. Making your guest happy, or let the guests complain. And in this circumstance, it will be prudent for you to make the guest happy and then delay your performance review. Because if you go to the general manager when you are a few minutes late and inform him the reasons why you are late, it is because you are attending to a guest, he won't be mad at you. Rather than you asking the guest to wait for someone to come and assist them, and then they become angry, and then they start complaining and make things worse. Having known that the specific purpose in our case is making our guest happy, therefore you have no otherwise but to assist the guest. Lastly, we are going to look at identifying our course of action. And in this case, I would like you to use your intuition. What do you feel is good? Is it asking the guest to sit and wait for someone else to come and attend to them? Or it's you assisting the guest? So your intuition will be able to guide you and tell you what is right. And having known what is our specific purpose, which is pleasing the guest, then it will be obvious that your intuition will tell you the best step to take. It is assisting the guest. Good. We have looked at our case study, and I hope this case study has helped you to now understand how to make the right decision. Let's look in summary what we have covered. Always I'll urge you to remember that these two approaches that will help us in making the right decisions are: one, logical, because there are materials that we are going to refer to help us come up with the right decision. And these reference materials are going to help us formulate our argument and come into conclusion on the right thing to do when we are supposed to make a decision. The second effective approach to decision making, it is that of intuition. Intuitive approach, we say that you use your intuition, you listen to yourself, think over the subject again and again, and if possible, have an internal monologue between yourself so that you are able to come up with the right decision. On the other hand, I would like to also remind you of the two ineffective approaches to decision making, which are: the first one, it is that of indecisive decision making. In indecisive decision making, you find that one fears to make the decision because they feel that they are going to make a wrong decision. And in most instances, they will try to push this decision making to someone else or delegate. And then in the long run, they end up making a wrong decision. The second one is that of impulsive. Impulsive, where we listen to our feeling and act quickly without thinking about the subject. And in most cases, we end up making decisions that we come to regret in the long run. And just like impulsive, you find that it also leads us into making a wrong decision. Impulsive and indecisive decision making will result to disappointment and discouragement among the parties involved. Therefore, avoid them by all means. Now that you have learned about the best and effective approaches to decision making, I would like to urge you that you practice them and make them part and parcel of your life. Internalize them, because they will help you to always make logical and sound decisions, which will always give you right results. And with this approach, you will also be able to make on-the-spot decision, which is going to give you confidence and will also make your team members and colleagues trust you in any moment where there's a decision that is supposed to be made. Looking forward to seeing you as you will be joining me in my next lesson, which will be the process of decision making. I will walk you through so that you get to know, before you make a decision, what are some of the steps that you need to follow. Stay tuned. See you next. It's very crucial for you to have a good and strong problem-solving skills. And that is why today I am delighted to see you joining my third lesson under our topic of decision making and problem solving. You remember, in our first lesson, we looked at the elements to managerial decision making. In our second lesson, we looked at the process of decision making. And today, we are going to look at our third lesson, which is the process of problem solving. Problem solving is very crucial, and you find that as a leader or as a manager, you take a better part of your life in solving problems. And therefore, grasping the right process to problem solving will make your work easier, and it will make you a guru in problem solving. In today's lesson, we are going to start by defining what a problem is. And then we will also come and define what a solution is. And then I will take you to the most exciting part of our lesson, which is going to be the process of problem solving. And in this case, we are going to use the idea model. Let's start by seeing what a problem is. We say that a problem, it is a doubtful or difficulty situation that requires a solution. We also say it is a matter or a situation regarded as unwelcomed or harmful that needs to be dealt with or overcome. Let's walk and see what a solution is. A solution is an action or a process to solving a problem. We can also say that it is an answer to a problem. We can also say that a solution is bringing or coming to an end to a situation, or that aspect of discontinuing a particular uncomfortable situation. And these two, a problem and a solution, coming to problem solving. What is problem solving? Problem solving is a logical process that is used to identify the causes of an issue and then plan for a solution. So when we are talking about problem solving, we have to use the logical process in identifying what the issue at hand is. And then once we discover what the issue is, then we come up with a solution to this issue. Let's walk to our very exciting segment, which is now the process of problem solving. And as I mentioned earlier, I said that this process, we are going to use the idea model to problem solving. How important creative problem solving is. And before you start solving any problem, it is very important to work on your mindset, because mindset can actually lead you to not having a proper solution to the problem at hand. That is why you've seen in most cases, we try to solve problems and then all of a sudden the situation comes back as it was. Or we don't even get to the end result that we were expecting. Why? Because of the mindset of the people that you're dealing with. There are those with rigid mindset, and this sometimes is developed based on the past experiences, what the team has experienced into our inability to solve the problem. And therefore they come with that mindset that there is nothing that can be happened. This situation cannot be solved. Therefore, it is very important for you to work on your mindset and that of your team before you venture into solving any problem. The first stage to the process of problem solving is that of identifying the problem. This is the most critical stage, because without identifying the problem, then you may not be able to come up with the solution. And when it comes to this stage, there are these things that I want you to really focus on and look at and internalize and ensure that you never miss them. The first thing that I want you to look at is, please look at the opportunities that this problem is presenting. Because in most instances, when you focus on the problem, then it will be hard for you to really get the solution. But when you see it as an opportunity, it also opens the mindset of the team and also your mindset as a leader into not seeing it as an obstacle, but you see it also as a challenge. I will also like you to observe some of the characters or behaviors of the team. Use your eyes to observe what are some of the changes that are taking place in the way that your team is conducting themselves. This is very important. Look at also some of the symptoms that could be coming up. Because sometimes there are things that we may rush up and say that, oh, there's a problem in this. And yet there's no clear vision or there's no clarity on the way people are conducting themselves. So observe those little changes in the way the people are conducting themselves. And out of this, you'll be able to really know what the problem is. It is also important for you as a leader to ask questions. Ask questions so that you are able to dig deep and get to know what the problem at hand is. Don't use assumptions. Don't just observe whatever that you see and then you run into a conclusion and say, this is the problem at hand. It is important for you to ask questions. Ask relevant questions. And this is where I encourage you to use the scope of the 5 whys. Ask why. Why is it that you people are behaving like this? When you get the answer, you ask, why is it? You continue with the why. Ask the why concept. And out of it, you'll be able to dig down and get to know what is the root cause of the problem. If you don't do the good questioning, then you will not be able to find what is the root cause. And this is why some of the times you find that you will come up with a solution to a problem. And then after quite a number of days or maybe after a short period of time, you find the problem occurring again and again. This is because you never questions in order for you to come up with the real root cause of the problem. The moment you get the root cause, then it will also help you to move to the next stage, which is developing solutions. When you use the 5 whys, you are asking why. It is very critical because in this process, I would like you to listen. Listen actively. Listen to every detail that the team is giving you. And then also ask right questions that are going to lead you into knowing what the problem is. After identifying the problem, and you now know the root cause of the problem, it will be very important for you to now move to the next stage, which is now of developing solutions. In the second stage, here you need to involve the team and come up with some of the suggestions in which you can solve this problem at hand. Most of the times, leaders believe that they know everything. And this is where someone goes and sits down in the office and drafts the solution to the problem. This is what I think, and this is what should be done. And then you come and force it to the team and tell them you have to do this. If you find yourself doing this, I can assure you that you will fail in solving this problem. Look at some of the barriers that are going to come along your way when you're solving this problem. Because the moment you identify the barriers, then it will be easier for you to be able to develop the right solution to the problem. Look at the mindset of the team and ensure that you are driving them from the negative perception about this problem to now start focusing on the solution and not the problem at hand. And one way that will help you to work on the mindset of your team is when you involve them. Everyone loves to be appreciated. Everyone loves to be, to be recognized. And when they are taken as part and parcel of this problem solving, then they'll feel appreciated and they'll work on it and give the right solution. Highlight some of the solutions that you'll get from the team, and then look at the pros and the cons. Then rank them from the top to the bottom. Go through each solution and see which ones are workable. Eliminate and then remain with the top 3 solutions. And these are now the solutions that you can move with to the next step. After coming up with these solutions and you have ranked them, ask yourself that the solution that I'm going to pick, is it going to give me the desired end results? And then you go with it. Use the first option. If you find it is not working, don't be afraid to try the second and also the third. And out of it, I believe you're going to come up with the right decision that is going to help you in solving this particular problem. Now, remember we started by identifying the problem. You have known what the problem is. And now you have come and developed the solution to this problem. You are now ready to move to the third step, which is that of executing the solution. The third stage to problem solving is that of executing your solution. Remember, in stage 1, we started by identifying the problem, which we already know what the problem is. Then we came to the stage 2, where we now developed solutions to tackle this problem. And we came with brilliant ideas and brilliant solutions to this problem. Now in this stage, we are going to put these solutions to action. And this is what we call the implementation stage. In this implementation stage, I want you to look at it critically, because having come up with the proper solutions, that is in stage 2, the way you're going to implement this solution is also very crucial. And that is why if you implement them in a wrong way, then you may end up getting wrong results. But if you implement them in a better and straight way, then I can assure you will get the right results. In the implementation phase, I would want you to also monitor goals. Remember, when you are identifying this problem, it is a must that you needed to come up with goals and see what do you need to achieve by the end of it. So therefore, start now monitoring the goals. As now people are implementing the solution that you have at hand, it is now that action that now they are taking. Look at it. What are some of the behavior changes that you're observing? Is there any change in the way the team was behaving before? And the solution that you've given, does it bring any result that is positive? So it is very important and very crucial for you to identify, for you to be able to monitor these goals. Because these goals will be able to tell you if the solution is right. In this stage, it is also important for you to remain proactive. Don't just sit and wait for things to happen. Move around, observe, use your ears to listen to what is happening on the ground, and then see if there's anything that you need to do, maybe to adjust in the solution that you've given. Be proactive. Don't wait for the team to come and tell you that this is what needs to be done, but instead go down to the ground and ask them for feedback. Ask them, what do you think we need to do? Does this solution really seem to work? And out of it, they'll give you suggestions that will help you to adjust your solution to what is going to favor all of you. It is also very important at this stage for you to take ownership. Leaders need to take ownership, because when you own the problem, when you own the solution, then the team will have trust in you. Don't blame. Don't try to throw the solution to someone else, even if it is not working. And this is the instance where mostly you'll find people say that you are the people who came up with this solution. It's you who suggests this and that. No. Take ownership, because you are the person who is in charge. Remember, that is why you are a leader. And if you're not able to take ownership to these actions, then you are wrong. In the execution step, I would also like you to ask yourself, am I in the right track? What has worked out for me in implementing this solution? Also ask, how is the team taking this solution? Does this solution actually help me to achieve the desired results? You know, this is the time you need to question yourself and see, and weigh down and see if there's something that you need to adjust. Now, you have identified the problem. You have developed the solution. You have executed the solution. You now move to the last stage, which is now assessing the situation. In this point, it's very important for you not to sit in the office and wait for the final results, but you need to move around and see if there's any difference between the initial behavior that the team had and the way they're behaving now after implementing this solution. You need to also look at it and say, the solution that I've given, was it really effective? Because sometimes when you sit and wait for the final results, you may be shocked by getting that things never worked. But in assessing stage, it will be very important for you to look at it and say, was this solution effective? And if it is not effective, you can work it out. You can do amendments, you can do adjustments so that you ensure that the solution is effective. If you find that this solution is not effective, it is also very important for you to revisit back and start the process of identifying the problem. It could be because you didn't get to the root cause of the problem, that is why you never had the chance to develop an appropriate solution to the problem. So revisit stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 so that you get to know what is it that you missed in all these stages. Don't fear to revisit, because when you revisit, you may rectify the situation at hand without going back to drawing another solution. It's also important at this stage for you to assess the tools that you've given the team, because at some point you may have come up with a brilliant solution, but you find in the implementation phase you didn't provide the tools that are required or that can be used to actually effectively implement this solution. And therefore, revisit these tools and see, did the team have effective and efficient tools that were required in this process of solving the problem? If not, please provide the team with the tools. It is also important at this stage for you to be able to now group your team into small groups so that you focus on each and every group. At some point, you may find that the problem is not really worrying, or the solution that you have given forth is really working, but because of a particular group or the negative mind of a certain number of team members, that is why this solution is not working. And when you now focus into small groups, you'll be able to really know what is the problem. So group the individual. It could be based on their functions of work. It could be the department that they are working on. It could be their job groups or job levels. So that now you are able to know which group or at which level is this solution not working, so that you can amend and ensure that you are having an effective solution. At this stage, it is also very important for you to communicate. Communicate the things that you are seeing. Communicate the differences that you are seeing. If there's any change, positive change in behavior, please communicate it out. Don't make the team wait for you. Don't make the team wait until when now at the end of the implementation phase, that's when now you come and tell them, hey, you know what guys, this never worked. No. Communicate what you are seeing. If there be change in behavior, walk around and tell guys, yes, I can see there's a change of this and that, so that the team also get to understand that there is someone on the ground who is following up on what is happening. In the assessing stage, it is very important for you to ask yourself, has the solution given me the desired results? It is also important for you to ask about the things that didn't work. If this didn't work, then what would I have done differently to make it work? We started by identifying the problem, and then we walked to the next stage where we developed the solution. After developing the solution, we also came down and executed this solution. Then later, we now assessed the situation, and we are happy. Yes, we have made it by using the idea model. It's very important for you as a leader to internalize this model so that it can help you in executing your problem-solving skill by ensuring that every time you are solving problems, you are doing it in a right way. In conclusion, I would like to remind you that it is very important for you to really ask, what is the real problem? Dig deep and ensure that you are getting the root cause of the problem, so that once you have now the root cause of the problem, you are able now to come and develop solutions that are going to help you solve this particular problem at hand. It is very important for you to ask real questions. And here, I still remind and encourage you to remember the 5 whys. Ask why, and why, so that you are able to dig deep into knowing what the real root cause of the problem is. I'd also like to tell you that please remember to acquaint yourself with idea model to problem solving. Identify the problem, develop solutions, and then execute these solutions, and then lastly assess the situation. And to finish up, I would like to tell you that always don't focus into looking for the problem, because sometimes the problem may not be there. Thank you very much for joining this lesson. I am looking forward to having you in my final lesson, which will be decision making and problem solving in action. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, and don't forget to leave a comment. Stay tuned into our next lesson. Thank you very much. What a delightful day. I am glad once again to have you on board. And I am excited, especially to see you following my second lesson under the topic of decision making and problem solving. In our previous lesson, we looked at the element of managerial decision making. Just to highlight a few things from the previous lesson, which was on element of managerial decision making. In this lesson, we looked at what decision making is. And we define decision making as a process that helps you to make the best choice out of the alternative courses of actions aimed toward a specific goal. We also came and looked at the 4 common approaches that are used in decision making, which we said are: 1. Logical approach to decision making. Secondly, we said intuitive approach to decision making. Thirdly, it was indecisive approach to decision making. And then lastly, we looked at the indecisive approach to decision making. I remember I recommended that logical and intuitive approach to decision makings are the best approach that you need to use, because they will always give you the right and sound decisions. However, I discouraged you from using indecisive and impulsive approach to decision making. These two will always result into wrong decision making and therefore will end up discouraging the parties involved. Today, we are looking at the second lesson, which is on the process of decision making. And in this lesson, I am going to take you step by step for you to be able to understand the steps that are followed when making the right decision. And when you use these steps, I can guarantee you that you'll be able to make the right and sound decision. Making the right decision is tough. And sometimes when you are asked to make on the spot and quick decisions, it can even be tougher. But once you understand this process, it will become exciting, easy, and you will enjoy making decisions. Stay tuned as you learn these steps. Allow me to mention these 6 steps that are used in decision making. The first step is that of defining the problem. Secondly, you need to analyze the problem. Then third, you need to develop alternative solutions. Then number 4, you need to choose the best solution. Then number 5, you need to now convert the decision that you've made into an action. And then number 6, lastly, you need to follow up. I am going to walk you step by step so that you get to understand these 6 processes into making the right decision. But before we start looking at each step, we are going to have a case study that we are going to analyze in each and every step. This case study is going to help you understand these 6 steps. This is our case study. You have reported at work, and this is on a peak season where there is a flow of guests and clients. Each and every moment you'll find there's a lot of inquiries and a lot of service deliveries that is required in your company. And therefore, one of your best employees walks to you on this busy day, asking you for permission to take an off day because he has an emergency family matter that he needs to attend to. What will you do? Would you let him go home, or would you ask him to stay and continue working despite having an emergency? The first step into making the right decision is that of defining the problem. And when you're defining the problem, it is very important for you to be clear, articulate all issues about the problem so that it is easy to be understood. And in this case, when you are doing that, then it will make it easy for you to make the right decision. You need to be very specific about the problem. Don't use words or jargons that are going to confuse yourself and also confuse others. That is why it's very important for you to be clear by setting up also clear objectives. Ask yourself, what is it that you need to achieve by the end of the day when you make this decision? And also look at what is the one action that you're going to make in this decision making that is going to make the end result a success. It is also important when you're defining the problem to be able to refer to the rules, policies, and guidelines that are outlined in your company about this specific problem. Because this will be able to help you to understand what you need to do when you're making a decision toward solving this particular problem. Having defined the problem, then you will have now to move to the second step of making the right decision. Our second step, it is that of analyzing the problem. Now, let's see, what do we need to do when we are analyzing the problem? Remember, in the first step, you started by defining what the problem is. And you are now acquainted with the problem. You need to analyze it. And in this case, you also need to collect all the facts about the problem. What is the problem? Who is it affecting? Or who is causing the problem? Then you also need to look at why is it a problem? And then how best can you handle this problem? When you analyze those 4 factors, then it will help you into knowing how to deal with the problem. Analyzing the facts and knowing what you know about the facts about this problem is very, very important, because at some point you will find that there are facts that you don't know about this problem. And therefore, once you discover what you don't know about the problem, it is important for you to go back and find out what it is, so that you are able to walk swiftly into making the right decision. Coming to look at the case study that we have, for you to be able to analyze this problem, you will look at what is the problem? The problem is Charles wants to take a day off, and therefore there's going to be shortage in money in this busy day in your business. Then secondly, you also need to look at why is it a problem? When Charles leaves, then there's no one that is going to be available to cover the duties that he does. And therefore, it is going to affect the business in one way or the other. There's going to be lack of flow of the smooth flow of business because someone is not there. And then you also need to look at it. Why is it a problem? In the long run, when there are no guests, or when there's no one to attend to your guests and clients, then guests are going to complain, and therefore it is going to impact on the negative image of the company because of delays and other factors that are going to be brought by Charles being absent. Therefore, look at that, then how can we solve it? This now takes us to the third step. Our third step into making the right decision is that of developing alternative solution. In this step, I would like to urge you to brainstorm the various solutions that can be availed into tackling this problem. And don't do this alone as a manager. Have someone to help you. Share it out, perhaps with your fellow leaders, or if need be, involve the whole team so that they're able to know what the problem is, and then they be able to generate ideas which at the long run you're going to find them exciting, and then they're going to help you. Once you have highlighted all the possible solutions, please look at each solution one by one, bearing in mind about the advantages and the disadvantages that are going to come along with this solution, and then rank them from the best to the worst, so that this will make your work easier into settling on the best solution that you need to make. Now let's come about our case study about Charles. Once you highlight some of the solutions that you'll have, the first solution could be number one, you let Charles go home. And then, or you make Charles to continue working. Then you might also have another solution of perhaps if you feel that Charles is going to be affected, you take him to a job with a lesser responsibility, so that he continue working and covering the shift. So with all these three solutions, you need to look at the pros and the cons. Now let's look at the first decision of asking Charles to go home. If you let Charles go home, then you are going to have a shortage in money, and therefore perhaps at some point there might be delay in service delivery because there's no one to cover what Charles does. The team might also be strained by taking up responsibilities that Charles is doing, and therefore looking at the second option of letting Charles work. If you let Charles work, Charles is going to feel discouraged because he will feel like you don't care about him. And secondly, Charles will also work when he is angry because he feels like no one cares about my family, no one cares about my feeling, and therefore he'll have that anger in him, which he might be able to transmit to other colleagues, by bringing into their picture of how the company doesn't care about their employees. He may end up being rude even to his colleagues and the guests, and therefore he will not give his best. If again you take Charles and give him a lesser role to play, still he will feel demotivated. He will not concentrate because perhaps he will be even on phone calling to find out about the emergency and all that. When you rank these alternatives based on the pros and the cons, you'll be able to pick the best alternative. And this is now what is taking us into the fourth step into decision making that is going to help us make the right decision. Our fourth step into making the right decision is that of choosing the best alternative solution. Remember, we started in step 1 by defining what the problem is. Then we came in step 2 and analyzed the problem. In step 3, we developed alternative solutions. And now, out of the alternative solutions that we have developed in step 3 is what we are now choosing the best solution. And in this case, we have to analyze. After analyzing, looking at the advantages and the disadvantages of all the solutions that we've put in place, then we pick out the best. Looking at the case study that we have at hand, I will go with the second alternative course of action, which is letting Charles go home. Because if I let Charles go home, number one, Charles is going to feel appreciated and understood. He's going to feel that the company cares for me, and therefore he's going to see the company as a people-oriented company. This will not only be to him, but also to other colleagues. Because you've heard in most cases, colleagues saying that this company does not care about us. And therefore, letting Charles go, you will be able to make others feel like Charles actually is cared for. And after letting Charles go, I know the colleagues will be happy, and therefore they'll be able to stretch themselves in order to cover the duties that Charles was covering. And in this case, there will be someone to attend to what Charles was doing. And guests are also going to be served well with happy employees. And therefore, they are going to have a positive review about the company. On the other hand, Charles is also going to feel motivated, and he is going to know that this is the right place for me to be together with other colleagues. Therefore, choosing this best solution is going to bring a lot of positivity in the company and also a lot of positivity into the business that we are doing. After choosing the best alternative choice or solution, we have to now move to the fifth step, which is about now converting this decision that we have made into action. Our fifth step into making the right decision is that of converting the solution into action. In most instances, you'll find that there are people who will make decisions and then sit on the decision without making or taking an action about them. Sometimes you delay taking action, and therefore it ends up ruining or destroying the entire process. Therefore, it is very important for you walk and tell all the parties involved. And in this case, you'll have to start with Charles and say, Charles, after analyzing and knowing what your problem is, I will allow you to go home and tackle this. And then please let us know once you are done so that you are able to come back to work the following day. Work on and also inform the colleagues that Charles is going to go away because of the emergency that he has to attend to. And when you do this, you will be now making the other team members to own up the decision that you have made. And once they own up, I know they'll be glad to stretch themselves and cover up what Charles was doing. And in the long run, you are going to have a smooth flow of the shift. After taking action, don't just sit and wait to get results. It is very important for you to now move to the final step, which is that of follow-up. Our final step, which is the step number 6 into making the right decision, is that of follow-up. It is very important for you to do follow-up into the decision that you have made. Don't just sit in the office and assume that everything is smooth on the ground. You have to stand up, walk and follow up with each employee to find out how are they faring on with executing the decision that you have made. Now, looking into our case study, it is important for you to follow up with each and every employee to find out how are they faring on in executing their roles. And when you walk to each employee, you'll be able to get feedback that will help you to determine if you need to do an adjustment into the decision that you have made, or if you need to stick to it and leave it the way it is, or if there's an element that you need to add in it. When you follow up, employees are going to own this decision, and they're going to feel appreciated and cared for, because you did not just sit and leave them to implement the decision, but you've gone an extra mile into following how they are doing. They will feel cared for and loved for. Therefore, follow-up is very, very important, and we have to do this. In conclusion, decision making is tough, and making the right decision on the spot and quickly can be tougher. But if you acquaint yourself with these 6 steps that we have looked into, which are defining the problem, analyzing the problem, developing alternative solution, choosing the best solution, converting the solution into an action, and follow up, you will be able to find that you will be making right and sound decision in a very natural way. It will be exciting and you will always enjoy any time that you are thrown into a path that you need to make a decision. Make it part and parcel of you. Analyze and internalize the process. I'd also like to remind you that decision making is not a rigid exercise where you need to stick to the 6 steps into making the right decision. Based on the decision at hand, it is important for you to be able to see which steps works for you. There are some steps that you'll have to eliminate, but in some instances you'll find that you have to stick to the 6 steps. All in all, remember that decision making must be flexible. You'll need to allow room for adjustment, and also you will also need to align some of the steps that you feel are very important to you. Looking forward into seeing you joining my next lesson, which is going to be problem solving. Thank you.